August 2005, an elderly woman called Daisy hears a train and tells her daughter Caroline of how she made the station in August 1918 after the family's sons lost to war. A blind clockmaker built a back-run clock in commemoration for all grieving mothers who had sons killed during the war. Daisy asks Caroline to read Benjamin Button's diary, which starts in 1985. It kicks off in 1918, after World War I has ended and Thomas makes a hasty return home to his wife, who promptly dies giving birth. He runs to the river where he thinks he has drowned the baby. A cop spots him and takes chase after, but Thomas evades behind a dim street. He leaves the baby and goes with as much money he finds in his pocket. Queenie brings the baby in her chamber and phones Mr. A doctor who enlightens several issues with him: cataracts, arthritis, osteoporosis. The doctor predicts the baby will not last long, but Queenie decides to raise him. She begins to show him off some of the tenants within a retirement home where she works, referring to Benjamin. Benjamin gets younger and never dies, only his body begins getting healthier. He learns to read and bear the crutches, gets himself a new tenant in Daisy. The two share a sweet moment, but before any serious declarations are made, Daisy's grandmother crashes their party. Meanwhile, in the present day, Daisy realizes that Caroline is her mother and Benjamin begins to feel alone. He offers his services as the boat's janitor and starts hanging out with Captain Mike, who takes him to a whorehouse, shows off sexy ink. The able Benjamin, who finally grows younger by the day and gets a chance to hang out with Daisy's grandma. 17-year-old Benjamin, played by Julio Oscar Micoso, gets out in 1936, and he takes a job at Mike's tugboat. Benjamin hops steamer to effing crew boat like family, back and forth rape racket. He grows stronger and younger while he is written to by Daisy, now studying ballet in New York. When they finally arrive in northern Russia in 1941, they encounter Elizabeth, whom an English spy called his wife. They both end up on the run, spending nights together telling stories and laughing about shared experiences, which leads to a forbidden love. During the war, Benjamin goes so far as to secure a job cooking for America in the U.S. Navy before being left behind by Japan when it bombs Pearl Harbor. His stories are loved by no other than Benjamin, who will come after his place. As a torpedo is sent at the crew, blowing Benjamin's ship in half. The crew determines to destroy the enemy submarine, but ends up crashing and sinking themselves. The next morning, Benjamin is saved by the Allies and sends money to his wife. Benjamin comes back home at 26, looking like he is in his early 50s now, and Queenie, his mom, stopped asking where he was, and then her boyfriend died of natural causes a couple months later. No one at the party could have seen that coming. Daisy goes to visit her grandmother and talk about the past. When he gets it, they walk to the lake together, and Benjamin finally accepts that their worlds are separate from each other already. In an episode where Thomas is limping along the street, this time with a walking stick because of an infected foot, he comes to visit Benjamin and Helen. Thomas confesses that he is his father and apologizes for running away. Benjamin exits, pondering all of this and his memories with Queenie. They spend time one last time at the lake and bond over moved on from their past together before Thomas dies. Queenie takes Benjamin to the funeral, and she leaves with him. He tells her in 1947 that as long as she uses Thomas's money, then it will be like old times. But when he pays a visit to Daisy at the theater and watches her enthralling everyone in it with their performance, Benjamin is affected. When their play is over, he invites her to his dance club, then walks out on her. Daisy said she felt at that time Benjamin came to her only to relate his father, and he had been too preoccupied with herself. She gets to be a part of the prestigious ballet company in Paris, but she hasn't forgotten about Benjamin. Ultimately, he receives a letter from Daisy to discover she was struck by taxi and will never be able to dance again. At Queenie's, Daisy runs into Benjamin and they hug, they hit the road and begin journeying together. Benjamin is heartbroken when he arrives home to learn that Queenie has died and attends her funeral. They choose to begin again, selling the house and purchasing a duplex. They watch the Beatles on TV and work together. Yes, Daisy opens a studio and teaches young girls. Benjamin comes to see her one evening and she learns that she is pregnant. Benjamin is ambivalent about the idea, but worried that if he more or less a jerk can have children of his own, then why not their baby? On Caroline's first birthday, Benjamin sells everything and Dan saves the money for her in an account. Cy Wolf just gets up and walks away. Every birthday she finds a postcard from Benjamin making his truant excuse for not being there after promising everything. Benjamin shows up to the dancing studio one night looking a man who appears in his 20s. which is denied by her new husband when Daisy lies that he's a former friend. As they grow older, Benjamin becomes more difficult to raise as he falls into dementia and regresses past his ability to speak or walk. They installed a new clock at the train station in 2002. When Benjamin dies for good, he gives Daisy one last knowing look before passing away in 2003. Now, the storm has gotten worse and Caroline goes to see what is going on. At the window, she notices a hummingbird tells Benjamin it is leaving and then passes away.